Welcome. Welcome to JW Night Talk. I guess that's what we had originally started this show as, is JW Night Talk. You know, it's where JWs or ExJWs, maybe it should be ExJW Night Talk. That's what someone said in the comments. But we're hopefully talking to some JWs out there. And I think we are. A lot are leaving the org, so a lot are coming into these ExJW channels, checking them out. So if you're a JW and you're coming into these channels and you're online right now, welcome. Welcome to the channel. There's nothing scary here. In fact, today we'll be going over that Secret Elders book that was controlling you. We'll probably be covering we're going to get right into it, folks. We'll be covering the most severe part of the book. I call it the severe part of the book, or what the book was intended for. Now, if you were a Jehovah's Witness, if you can remember being at the Kingdom Hall, and you see the elders, you know all the elders, they kind of scatter around a bit. They're supposed to do that, by the way. Scatter around, not all sit together. You know, in case there's a disaster, if they're all sitting together, if they're all in one airplane, what happens? You know, they should have an elder that misses a few meetings or zooms in, maybe, the way things are going. I don't know. It's not in the elders book. So we're not going to worry about it. If it's not in the elders book, don't worry about it, friends. It's not important. That's what someone said today. And okay, I wanted to address something. I'm out here in the paradise. You see the waves in the background. See, if I move off the stage, where am I here? I'm on the stage. There. Yeah, on the stage. So what happens when you sit underneath trees, right? That thing. Birds are up in the trees and they poop on you. So that's what someone left in the comments. It was the best one. I thought, what is that? Some poop? I gave the story on this. It's not even a birthmark. This is not it is like a birthmark now. That's what it looks like, a birthmark. I'll never forget what this is about. This is about being a Jehovah's Witness, having a Jehovah's Witness brain out there in the world. So Jehovah's Witness leaves the confinement of the group, all the protection and stuff. You know, things are functioning somewhat, but they leave the group, and that Jehovah's Witness brain's out there. You know what happens? It bangs itself against the wall. I had a chicken coop that was made for pygmies. Wasn't made for me because I was too tall. So you had to crouch down to go in through the doorway. It was a little chicken coop on the old farm. And my mind was always somewhere else. And when I say a Jehovah's Witness mind out there in the real world, when you leave the organization, you actually carry with you the last memories of everything and everyone in all of those years that you've been in that. You carry the very last memories. That's what you carry with you. That's what you remember. Years. You might go years. So I'd say when we had this pygmy chicken coop, I'd probably already left for 4 years. I'd already left for 4 years. And my mind is still entrapped into those people, those events, whatever caused me to leave. It's kind of like an open wound that's not fixed. You can't heal it. You can't close it. The problem is you can't go back and phone anybody and say, hey, how's things going? You know, since I left, you know, Any new light? I used to do that with one friend, would come up and visit me. We'd talk solar, talk shop. Hey, any new light? He'd go to the assembly. And there was never any new light. he just he'd come up and talk about the problems in the organization, and he'd leave and say, it's like, talking to you is better than talking to an elder or anybody. It's just because I can tell you things that I wouldn't tell, because I know you're never going to go back, because I told him that so many times. And he never ever tried to get me to go back. So, but then after they put the witch hunt out on you and call everyone and make sure that you're demonized, no one calls you. You're done. Once you get to this level, apostate, you're done. Burned at the stake. Even those guys won't come and see you. Got some nice mint in the tea today, right from the garden, fresh. Which mint? Apple mint, my wife says. Okay, we have 32 people on, so we have enough to start the program. Okay, am I on the screen still? I am. This is the largest topic in this book, this Elder's book, the Shepherding the Flock book, the April 2024 edition. It is all about what we're going to be talking about here. We're on chapter. Now, we have a playlist on the channel. So if you want to catch up to where we are, you can go back and watch the videos under the playlist Elder's book. And you'll see about 4 or 5 videos right now. So we finished medical matters. That was quite something. So far, the biggest thing that's sticking out at me is circuit overseers. You can bribe them. Did you know you can bribe circuit overseers, but you can't bribe elders? So if you can bribe circuit overseers, I gotta get on the big screen so you guys can really see my face. I should have worn my expensive jewelry. Did I finish my poop on the head discussion? Yeah, it's from not being present. And when you're not present as an ex-Jehovah's Witness, you leave the organization. You are not going to be present in your future life until you fix your head. And I'm fortunate this is all I did to my head, just accidentally, by not being present. Many people cause death, loss of life, over not being present. If you're not present at a job site or something, and your mind is all wrapped up in the very last moment you left the congregation, that's not a good thing. Come on to our Discord channel. We have every Sunday morning, there's free therapy classes. There's 3 free. This is free. There's no gimmicks here. This is all to help you guys as members that are qualified in that area, and they have a recovery program for ExJWs specifically designed by ex-Jehovah's Witnesses for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses to help them wake up. You see, when we leave that organization, we're not totally woken up, so we're asleep half the time, and that's why we bang our head. So that's a reminder on my head of not being totally awake. And I'd have to apologize to my wife the most, because she was living with a person that was half asleep half the time. And if you can put yourself in the other person's shoes, we can, as ExJWs, we can be a bit of a handful at times. I admit that. But fortunately, we have a recovery program. We don't have to go through years and years and years of this. Get into the recovery program. Join the Discord channel today. Right today, there's a link at the bottom. There will be a link when I'm done this video, a fresh link. They're only good for 7 days. So get in there, sign up for the ExJW recovery program. You'll find it'll do you a world of good. Okay, we're going to move on. Biggest surprise is you can bribe. You can bribe them. COs. If you can bribe a CO, we got talking about this. If you can bribe a CO, you can bribe the governing body because they're like a CO. You can bribe. They don't have district overseers no more, but you can bribe these kind of people. People that come and spend time with you, COs. People, you say to the CO, "Hey, here's $100. Remember me when, you know, hopefully I can be an elder someday. Here's $100. If you do that every couple visits in a row, you'll be an elder, right?" I now know why was never ever an elder. I never bribed the CO. I never stuck $100 in his pocket. I didn't know it was allowed. Nowadays you can't bribe. You cannot give gifts. So I call it bribes. They call it gifts. Potatoes. What do we say? You can call it what you want. It's a bribe. It's not his birthday. It's not his anniversary. He's donating his time. He wants to come and see you, your congregation. He's not out of pocket. Everything's covered. He's given a next to new car, full tank of gas. The people that he stays with, they treat him like a king. Or if he has his own little premise, a lot of these guys have their little house built into there's a little circuit overseer suite built into the assembly hall or something like that. So he stays there. Beautiful suite. 5-star. Looked after. Everything's there. Even a 6-pack of beer if he drinks beer. They'll put it in there for him. So if you're putting $100 in his pocket, and lots of people might put more than that. I know one circuit overseer that him and an elder would go to Vegas. Every year they'd go to Vegas and they'd gamble. They'd play the slot machines. Vegas is a big place. You can hide out there. Shouldn't be any other JWs at the slots, right? So for entertainment, they go to Vegas because in them days you could buy a steak there for $3. That was way back in the 80s. This is what I'm talking about in the 80s. Now that I know you can bribe these guys, I know that the Vegas thing is real. I thought it was a fake story. The elder told me this elder that worked for me. And he said him and the CO in Saskatchewan, another province, they're good buddies. Grew up, and they'd go to Vegas privately, and they'd play the nickel slots. And they'd take $50 in nickels. And in them days, it would cost you about $50 to go see Elvis Elvis impersonators, or to go see the guys that paint themselves blue or something like that. So these guys would go and play the nickel slots all evening, and they get free drinks. They like drinking. That elder liked drinking. The other guy, CO, probably liked drinking. And he said it was our entertainment. When we were done our $50, we'd go back to the room and whatever. And he says a lot of times our $50 turned into $350. That's what he'd tell me these stories, right? And he said it was just entertainment. And I kind of believe him a bit. Entertainment, I don't know. But you see, the problem with the whole Jehovah's Witness scam is that we were all thought these guys are so self-righteous, they're so perfect, they're so Christ-like, they're so this, they're so that, they're so exemplified. At the end of the day, all of these people are just people. And they will break rules. If there's a whole pile of rules, they will look for loopholes. There's loopholes in rules. Now, I don't know if we got to this point yet, but there is something that says you're allowed to gamble. It's loosely put. You can play cards, and you can play for a certain amount of money. Like if you're playing poker at someone's house, as long as you keep it quiet, you can each throw in $20. That's your entertainment. That's how they're classifying this. You can gamble if you keep it quiet. I'll cover that probably sometime here in the near future. You can gamble. Yeah, well, everyone plays bingo. The mafia. Okay, I didn't even say hi to me. Hi to everyone. What kind of manners is that, right? Okay, we have Gabby. She was the first one there. Hello, Gabby. And we have Jane. Hello, Jane. 83. I just faded since 83. Wow, that's a long time ago. 83. That's when I started coming into the organization. 81. That's when I signed up. I got baptized, I think, in 80. I graduated in 81. Blah, blah, blah. I think it was about 83 when I got baptized, to be quite honest. Marmy. Hello, Marmy from Quebec, right? Hello, Marmy from Quebec. Quebec? Hopefully, we get to go out and see you soon. We ran a little ad that we're going to travel across Canada. The Canadian Angelica, Anglican. I like playing with that one. Hello, Canadians. Good. We need the Canadians on board. Hello, Joe and Fran. Welcome. We need the New Yorkers. We work together all over the world. What do we have in common? We walked out the doors of the Kingdom Hall, never went back for a lot of us. Hopefully, 660 Equino. Hello. And hopefully for some of us, we didn't go back. Some of us have to go back. Maybe we have a spouse or something in. Everyone has a different circumstance. We don't judge anybody. Hello, San Diego. Catholics call it excommunicated. We call it disfellowshipping, but it's the same thing. Yes, it is. Shunning. I think Amish call it shunning. Shunning. Mormons maybe use the word shunning. Val. Hello, Val. Okay, there you go. San Diego. $10 table for 3-card poker, right? That's what JWs play, right? Is that kind of the unwritten limit, kind of? For an evening? Like $10. Okay, if you go to a movie, what does it cost you just to take you to the movie and have some popcorn? And a drink, of course, because the advertising on the screen, it's all subliminal. So by the time you sit down and watch the commercials, you're getting back up and, oh yeah, and get me some of that licorice stuff that they advertised on there. It was costing $50. My ex, she did a lot of this movie theater for JW. I thought it was weird, but she grew up in the religion, so she knows more than I know. But they do a lot of movies. $50, $100, 2 people, $100 bill to go to the darn movies. So if you have $10, well, your wife doesn't play poker, right? So it's just the guys, $10. And everyone brought some snacks because you're at someone's home, right? And you brought the big bottles of pops, and no one's paying $2 or $5 for that thing of pop that they give you at the movie theater. None of that. And you can spike your pop with a little rum or little rye or something, because you're at your friend's house. You guys can have some fun. We used to do a lot of card playing when I was a JW, but we never played with the money. But it's interesting that it's in the Elders book. You can play with a little bit of money. It's amazing what's in there. And then once we read this Elders book together, we can understand a lot that the elders don't tell us. So I think it's kind of a little bit fun. Shack Composer, hello. And who else did I know? Oh, we have Tadashi from Japan. Hello. Nice to see you with us. It was nice to have you on the other day and talk to us. Your English is actually very, very good, by the way. I went back and replayed that. Your English is really good, in fact. My Japanese, my English isn't even that good. J Archives, Quebec. Okay, keep the gambling quiet, but the money must be donated. That's the best one, and I think that's what they were doing. Yeah, the brothers would come in. Okay, guys, we're gonna throw it. Okay, this is like throwing $10 into the contribution box, fellas. So you get about, I don't know, 10 of yous over, right? Well, what's $10, right? So everyone starts. You throw $10 and you get all your tokens. Poker. What do they call that? Um, they have a name for that. The poker that they called it. Texas Hold'em. So you guys in Texas, you guys invented this game, I guess. You hold them and shoot them. I don't know. Rob them. It's a gambling. Texas Hold'em. It's actually you can buy it in a kit. My son had it. I never got into the gambling, but him and his buddies, they all went. They would all go and play Texas Hold'em, and so I bet you they threw in the $10. No, they wouldn't. The elders would. They'd throw the $10 in. Dion's thumb ring. Born in 74, never baptized. Well, you can't get disfellowship. You've never gone baptized. But you still have to wake up. I agree. Even though someone's not baptized, they still have to wake up. It's all the same jargon. We have to wake up. It takes a little bit of work. These channels help. And if you get angry, just leave the channel for a bit. It's we're not out here to get anybody angry. We're just telling it the way it is, what's going on out there. Okay, who do we have? We're John. John, we left in February 2024. Really? You just left? Welcome to the ExJW community. What's that? Yeah, and congratulations. You're not disfellowshipped yet, we think. Well, there's no reason to get DF'd. Just don't show your face on the internet and talk a whole lot. Like, you could probably come on and talk and tell your whole story. Like, if you went on to Joe and Fran's show, you could eventually, when you're brave enough and feel that you want to, there's a time that you want to do that. And there's a time that you're just glad to kind of get out and you just kind of, I call it, you're a closet smoker. I was a closet smoker. It's a closet JW, right? We become a closet JW. So we hide around the corners. We're driving down the street. We don't really, oh, there's someone. We always notice the JWs. They're there. There's one. And you meet them up in the stores. There's a JW. See, whatever you're thinking about, and this is one of the tricks to life for anything, whatever you're focusing on, you will run into it. So if you're a race car driver and you're racing around the track, and there's all these people on the grandstand, you're racing around the track, you're going 200, now you're going 300 miles an hour around the track. And you're watching, all your vision's working, you're racing down the track. What do you see? Well, you see a whole row of girls with their shirts up, right? So you look, and what happens? You hit the wall. Whatever you focus on, you will smash into it. So this is how a lot of guys get themselves into trouble. JWs, ExJWs, everyone in the world, they get themselves into trouble. Married people. When they're driving down the street and there's people, I call them people. There's just lots of people, right? People. Some are female, some are male, some are different national, but we're all people. We're driving down the street. There's people. Well, if you're in the car and necks are cranking and cranking well, I guess they're girls. There's lots of girls down the street, but there's just people. The ones with their necks cranking, I call it neck crank disease. They all got disfellowshipped, adultery, all cheated on their wives eventually. All the ones I know in my life. So whatever you're focusing on, that's where you're going to go eventually. Eventually you're going to hit the wall. Okay, that's my little advice for today. Outside the Elders book. Clyde Bell, hello from Boston. Well, you guys have a big thing going up in Boston next year. Stay alive until 25. Boston streets will be echoing ExJW pride. I don't know if that's what you say, but all the ExJWs that have come out of the closet. Yeah, we're talking about that as a closet smoker. You smoke around the closet. We become closet JWs, and that's part of the fading process. And then we might run into stuff that makes us angry. There's an anger process there too. It's like getting divorced eventually. And that's usually when people really cut you off, and because you're divorced, you're going through a divorce. So if you haven't went through a divorce, if you leave the religion, you will experience the feelings of going through a divorce. Jane, okay, we have everyone. Okay, so yes, drop a like. My good wife says drop a like on the video. Share it with people. This is what pushes these channels. This is how YouTube works. It's not how we work. Pardon me? Yeah, and we appreciate it because we have to reach as many people as we can. We're out here doing this stuff anyway, so we might as well try to hit as many people as we can. Okay, get out of bed driving. Yeah, don't drive and eat. Okay, we're going to get into this Elders book. This is a long one. We'll try to cover most of it, but it's right here. We're covering determining whether a judicial committee should be formed. It just shows chapter 12 here, but it's the longest chapter in the book. It's 38 pages, I think I counted. So I'll be taking a break, putting on the music, and we'll take a 5-minute break. There's only so much of this we can digest at a time. I'm not going to read every single word of it, but it's on the screen here in big, so you guys can read it too. I'm just going to paraphrase it for you. So it's saying that elders, right here in this chapter, here's how big this chapter is. Look at this. This is just the breakdown of the chapter. When you get to chapter 12, they have another breakdown of the chapter itself. This is the hugest thing in this book. This is what this book is about. It's a judicial book. So if you see 3 elders walking around with the elders book clutched in their hands, they're setting up to disfellowship someone. This is it. So this is an important part. If you're fighting for human rights, this chapter is important to you. And if you're fighting Jehovah's Witnesses on human rights and you're being shunned, this chapter is important to you. Because now you can see why it's being done. It's not being done because that elder had it out for you. It's being done because it's systemic. It's done by the system, the Jehovah's Witness system, the Jehovah's Witness culture. It's done by the organization. And it's been in there since day one. Well, almost since day one. So they say, well, every religion has it. They fight it in court and they win. On human rights, but on child abuse, they're not winning. They're losing. But anyways, let's get through this. Determining whether a judicial committee should be formed. That's what it's about here. We're going to get right into it. And here's all of the all of the subheadings. Brazen conduct, drunkenness, gluttonous, stealing. The very first one is pornography, sexual immorality. It's the very first one. Deliberate, malicious, lying, false witness, slander. Well, they cover it all. Evidence. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, well, here it is. Number 1, elders should act promptly. So don't have supper, don't pass go, don't go to get groceries. Act promptly when you receive a report of serious wrongdoing, so as to safeguard the congregation and provide assistance to the wrongdoer. It's almost like all these elders are sitting by waiting, like policemen, waiting for someone to violate some of the rules in the elders book so they can prosecute. So, neglecting to care for such matters can hinder the flow of Jehovah's Holy Spirit. So that's Watchtower. Remember, we say Jehovah equals Watchtower? Well, it's Jehovah's Holy Spirit, which really how Watchtower functions, how they run their congregations, and how they control people. So if elders neglect to care for this stuff, it can hinder the flow of the Watchtower, how their spirit controls the congregations. They call it Jehovah's Holy Spirit, but it's not, folks. They're not inspired. They even say they're not inspired. So it's not. Elders must first assess whether the wrongdoing, if established, is serious enough to require a judicial committee. Okay, so offenses requiring review by the elders listed. Their offenses may require, they even call it it's like a police book, right? Listed below are the offenses that may require review by a judicial committee. These are the offenses. So I'm an elder in the congregation. This is what I'm told. This is my book. So I'm looking for offenses in the congregation. Offenses against the Watchtower, right? That's what it is. It's offenses against what's in this book. Okay, of course, this list is not comprehensive. There may be other matters, so might make your own rules too. This list isn't complete if you have some new offenses that you can squeeze by the circuit overseer. No one knows what's in the elders book, remember. It's secret. So we can add to the list if need be. That's what that tells me. Okay, the elders must use good judgment and reasonableness when evaluating it. They should consider the extent, nature, the misconduct, the intent, the motive. How does an elder know the motive, the intent? By asking a gazillion questions and 3 elders drilling at them? It's how they try to do it. Okay, frequency. They like to know the frequency. How many times did you do, how many times did you do it? Do what? Like, what? Well, you know what I'm talking about, right? How many times did you do it? They get you in a room. I was in an elders meeting and I was disfellowshipped. I was like, I don't know, 8, 19, 20. I just got baptized. And then they said, well, when you get baptized, Satan's going to come after you. You know what it is, folks? When you're baptized, you're underneath all these rules. You see, when you were not baptized, you're not under those rules. I didn't know I was agreeing to all the rules in this elders book when I got baptized. I didn't know that I couldn't visit a girl at her house. I didn't know that. Didn't know you weren't allowed to go and visit people of the opposite sex. Her sister was there, but they didn't like me going over there. So they started following me around. I didn't know that was in the elders book. You see, folks, they want to know your frequency. And they'll ask you all kinds of questions. Well, how many times did you go over there? Or practice. You see, they really drill you. And why do they do it? It's not because the elders are nosy or anything. It's because the Watchtower is telling the elders how to act in these judicial meetings. The Watchtower is completely responsible for everything that goes on in all of the congregations around the world. Don't let them tell you likewise. Now, they're changing their legal status. They're making all kinds of companies to protect, to indemnify themselves, to make it so that they're not legally responsible. They're making all kinds of different shelf companies that they run under. And they're leaving the liability with you guys as the elders in the congregation. So here they are pulling all the puppet strings through this elders book. They're pulling it all. They're laying out all the rules. They're telling you that you have to obey them. and they give you the book to do it, but yet they're throwing you under the bus when it comes to CSA and court cases. So, yeah, I would be using a lot more than this elder's book if I was an elder. I would be probably quitting, because elders aren't healthcare practitioners. They're not legal judiciators. They're not judges. They're just elders. They're just people like you and me. And this book is supposed to teach them how to be an elder. So we're going to look at it a little really thoroughly, I guess, here. We're going to go through it. Okay, so sexual immorality, it's number 3. Porneia, they call it. There's a whole bunch of scriptures on that. We're not going to look it up. We know as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, they make you read these scriptures throughout a year a lot. We cover these scriptures a lot. Multiple times, different articles, different watchtowers. They really cover porneia a lot. It's a problem. So let's read it. Porneia involves immoral use of the genitals. That's the opening statement, folks. Porneia involves the immoral use of genitals. So let's see what they say. Whether in a natural or in a perverted way. Oh, interesting. Very much. So the elder's sitting there. Well, did you touch your genitals in a natural way or a perverted way? How would you respond? You see, they're reading their elder's book. They're sitting there reading their elder's book, looking at you in this elder's meeting, asking you some lewd questions. God even uses the word lewd. Okay, so were you touching yourself in a natural way or a perverted way? With lewd intent. Lewd intent. You see, I would question whether the elders have lewd intent when they're getting into all the details. Like, what do they need to know? It's none of their business, right? But they believe it's their business because it's in their elders' book. You see, right here, human rights, if human rights is watching this program, right here, you should be able to look at this religion and say, it's not a religion, this is weird. They should be able to do something in our government's laws that this is not allowed. These guys are not family practitioners. They don't have any training on how to deal with any of this stuff. And they don't know what's lewd and what's not. It's none of their, yeah. Anyways, there's lots of suicides over this, folks. This is very serious. Okay, there must have been another party to the immorality, they ask you. A human of either sex or beast. So is the immorality with a beast? Bestiality. They may ask that. It includes adultery, bestiality, homosexuality, and prostitution. This is porneia. It's kind of like a dictionary definition, an all-encompassing definition of it for the elders. It also includes oral sex, anal sex, and manipulation of the genitals between individuals not married to each other. So, okay, so this would be, it also includes oral sex, anal sex, and manipulation of the genitals between individuals not married to each other. So does that mean that the oral sex, the anal sex, and the manipulation of the genitals is okay if you're married? You see, this might say that it's okay, but it's just not okay if you're not married. Do you see what I'm getting at here, folks? But I'm not sure. Hopefully we'll cover this below here, what they think of oral sex, different kinds of sex, missionary style, doggy style. I don't know. Do they get into it? Is there only one type of sex that's kind of allowed? Well, hopefully, hang in there, folks. Hopefully we'll get through this. There's 38 pages of this stuff. This is crazy. I never knew this existed in this elder's book. Blew me away when I started reading this. Okay. It also includes all these different sexes, right? Oral sex, anal sex, touching each other, right? If you're not married, between individuals not married to each other. It is not a casual touching of the sex organs, but involves a manipulation of the genitals. Like, did they not say it enough? They got to say it some more. I bet you they read this to the people when you're in there. Okay, porneia does not require skin-to-skin contacts, copulation, as in penetration, or sexual climax. Ooh, Watchtower, really crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's on this one. Willing participation incurs guilt and requires judicial action. So here it is, folks. Willing participation incurs guilt and requires judicial action. Now, you know why I call... Okay, here's what I call on this. I should be using my stuff. I got stuff for this. Here's what I call on this. Okay, I think that spelled it out. It didn't pass the test. It's BS. It's BS. Why? If you're a child, if you're a minor, and if a minor is willing to participate, they're saying, like, there's no distinction here. They're saying that willing participation incurs guilt and requires judicial action. So what if the minor was willing? You see? We'll see if they cover this. Let's see if they fix this. But you see, in my mind, this should be covered right here. Right here. Willing participation other than minors. It should have in brackets other than minors. Because minors are coerced, right? They don't know that. This is where we're really examining this book closely, folks, is because of all the CSA cover-ups in this organization. And how they're using this book to become family practitioners and understand the psychology of people, understand what really is porne and what isn't. But anyways, let's carry on and let's see how these elders are programmed by the Watchtower, because they're puppets, and this is how the Watchtower is controlling everyone. So in one blanket statement, the Watchtower wants to say that we don't control anything, and they're sending elders to jail. Elders are getting convicted. 2 elders got convicted. They just didn't go to jail. They had to put on those orange coveralls. I said yellow. They're orange. Orange coveralls, and they pick up garbage in the ditches. For light offenders. They do that for 6 months. Could you imagine a 68-year-old and a 72-year-old doing that? Elders, upstanding elders in the community. Because Watchtower threw them under the bus, and all they were doing is following this book. One of the elders quit in that report. I should bring that one up and do it again. Now, the immoral use conveys the thought not just of touching, but operating, manipulating, or employing. Wow. Immoral use of. So they're defining the immoral use of. So they're going to really break this apart, Watchtower. It conveys the thought not just of touching, but of operating, manipulating, or employing something. Like what, a vibrator? What are they talking about? For example, it is one thing to touch a musical instrument, and it's something different to make use of a musical instrument. What? What are they getting at? Anybody have any ideas out there what they're getting at? I don't know. Maybe they're talking about a vibrator, but they didn't want to say it. They said everything else. Why wouldn't they say a vibrator? Okay. Well, that's a weird one. Let me know what you guys think, because the audience. Number 2, lewd intent. identifies the motive. For example, a doctor may need to manipulate the genitals in examining a patient. A veterinarian, a farmer, or rancher may do something similar to an animal. However, the intent is not sexual gratification. Okay. Thanks for that, Watchtower. Number 3, manipulation conveys the idea of operating something, whether by use of the hands or some other means, and does not require skin-to-skin contact. Momentary touching of another's genitals, even if intentional, would generally not be considered porneia. Momentary touching of another's genitals, even if intentional, would not be considered porneia. There's how elders are getting out of this, maybe, with little kids. I'm looking for that, eh? We got to look at this as critical thinkers. How are they justifying themselves? Watchtower puts that in there. I'd pull that out if I was Watchtower. Or I'd put it in brackets. Does not apply to little kids. I don't know what they're getting at here. Manipulation conveys the idea of operating something. A vibrator. Why don't you just say it, Watchtower? A vibrator. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. We'll see. Number 4, masturbation of oneself is not porneia. Really? Masturbation of oneself is not porneia. Really? Okay. Okay, there's a big one, right? But I thought it was. Porneia involves immoral use of the genitals, whether in a natural or in a perverted way with lewd intent. So I guess masturbation, long as you don't have lewd intent or no perversions, you can masturbate. It's what it says. It just says that, an end of sentence. So it says it's not porneia. Well, let's go on. One who was raped would not be guilty of porneia. So it sounds like Watchtower made masturbation okay. I got to come back and talk about this because I'm sure masturbation was not okay, but now it looks like it's kind of okay. You guys, I look forward to hearing this in the comments. Anybody that's in the organization, they might know if this is new light. Maybe this is some new light. Jehovah's given them some new light. Don't know. Number 5, one who was raped would not be guilty of porneia. Well, obviously, that was Watchtower. Come on. Discernment is needed in considering claims of rape, taking into consideration such factors as mental disposition of the person, circumstances that led up to the incident, and any delay in reporting. So Watchtower is very careful on this, right? And I understand that there can be false cries for this, but everyone's going to focus on this. They're going to focus, well, did that really happen? Why did it take you so long to come forward? Why did it take you so long? They'll talk about stuff like that, right? To a rape victim. Like, Watchtower does not know how to talk to a rape victim. Anybody out there in child welfare, family counseling, look at this stuff. It's right here on the screen. This is how they're teaching their people to provide family counseling to a raped victim. This is sad. We all have to take notice of this. This is it. You know what they're telling you to do? They're telling the elders to work the person over and see if maybe they were guilty of porneia. Were they guilty of immorality or adultery, perhaps even? And here the person was just raped. So they want to work the person over. That's the wrong place to do it. You see, Watchtower is not trained for this stuff, folks. That's what we want to take home from this video tonight. They're not trained for this stuff. This is how they're trained, is how this book is talking to us. And this is not how family counseling would deal with any of this stuff. Okay, number 6. When determining if an individual is guilty of porneia, it's important to establish the facts. And this is especially true when the scriptural freedom to remarry is involved. In situations in which the elders are uncertain or divided on their conclusions, it is best to write the service department. Free to remarry? So if you're guilty of porneia, this is especially true in the scriptures, freedom to remarry is involved. So would the porneia in a relationship involve the other party to go get remarried? Is it considered like adultery, I guess? That's what they're trying to figure out. So they'd have to call the service desk. So now your whole problem's all spread all over Bethel. And it's the talk of Bethel. Service desk guys go for coffee. They all work together. It's like an elders meeting. They all go for coffee so they can talk about things. And it's a talk of the service desk room. Yeah, well, this guy called up and it was porneia, but it was well, masturbation's okay, but as long as you're not thinking lewd, but could you imagine some of the discussions going on in that service desk about people, about us? Glad I'm not in there. Number 7, strong circumstantial evidence of sexual immorality, porneia. Strong circumstantial evidence. Let's see what they say. If at least 2 eyewitnesses report that the accused stayed all night in the same house with a person of the opposite sex, or with a known homosexual under improper circumstances, judicial action may be warranted. And they'll come and follow you around. People will follow you around. That happened to me. 2 eyewitnesses. They had 2 people following me around. And I don't know if the elders actually arrange it. It's people in this organization. They want to be stool pigeons and they want to follow you around and see if you slip up and then report you to the elders. Or they're jealous, or maybe it's a problem of competition, sexual competition within the congregation, guy or girl, and one of the parties is jealous. So they start following them around to find out if they slip up. That's what happened in my case. So now this is right in the elders book. It supports it. It's allowed. They want 2 eyewitnesses. So then judicial action is warranted. You could just be visiting someone, right? So let's say you're a guy and you visit another brother, or I guess another person's house. You go over there, you visit them, and you have frequent visits and stuff. And I don't know, maybe you're over there and you're having a study, maybe even a Bible study, and it's way out somewhere. Your car won't start, so you have to stay the night. So you stay the night and watch a movie and have a beer. Get up in the morning, have breakfast, and garage comes in, services your car, and you go home, right? Well, the 2 eyewitnesses that were following you and spying on you, they seen you stay overnight at that guy's house. You're a guy, right? What's the difference? That guy's a known homosexual. You are now in an elders meeting. You are now in a judicial meeting, 3 elders. You are now at the verge of being disfellowshipped. Will they believe you? They got 2 eyewitnesses on you. The 2 eyewitnesses think that you're guilty. So you're in a very precarious situation. And you might not have even known of the guy's sexual orientation. It doesn't matter to you, because when you look around, you see everyone as human beings, as people. But not in this organization. You see, folks, why this is a breach of human rights right here? Right here, breach of human rights. So, okay, number 1. They're talking about freedom to remarry, yeah. So, and if the body of elders are so involved, let's say you split up, you're two JWs married, they get divorced, and they can't live together, get divorced, right? So maybe no one fades, so they just move to different towns. They can't get remarried. They're legally divorced, but they can't get remarried unless there's proof of porneia. So they'll get into stuff. They'll monitor people, all kinds of stuff. So they're going to look at you. Number one, have the couple been pursuing a romantic relationship? Have they been previously counseled regarding their conduct with each other? What circumstance led to their spending the night together? Did they plan ahead to do so? Did they have a choice in the matter? Or were there extenuating circumstances, perhaps an unforeseen occurrence or a genuine emergency, that left them with no choice but to spend the night together? Come on, Watchtower. What were the sleeping arrangements? Since each situation is different, there may be other relevant factors. If there are no extenuating circumstance, a judicial committee would be formed on the basis of strong circumstantial evidence of sexual immorality. So you see, folks, there's the questions. There's how they do it. If you don't answer correctly, this is circumstantial evidence. This is almost like it's written by a lawyer. You see, the organization is set up by Judge Rutherford, a lawyer. So it is written like a lawyer, and it's been like that since they started it. Now, here's number two. Depending on the attitude of the accused, you see, they even use words like in court, like the accused, depending upon the attitude of the accused. There might even be evidence of brazen conduct. If you take the same words of this elder's book and apply it to Watchtower in court today in Montana, depending on the attitude of the Watchtower, if they give over the information or don't, or if they're silent, or they just sit there silent, or if they lie or deceive or twist things, depending on the attitude of the Watchtower, the accused, there might be evidence of brazen conduct, Watchtower. We can use this stuff back on them. They've written a legal book for the elders. So it's crazy. I never knew it was written like this, folks. Okay, consider an example in which judicial action would be warranted. A married brother spends an inordinate amount of time with his female secretary after work. Well, did you guys know that Russell did that? Russell spent a lot of time with his female secretary after work, and she was living with them at the start, but she moved out and she was the secretary at work. Okay, so here they're talking about Russell, but anyways, a married brother spends a lot of time with the secretary at work after hours, but insists there is no romantic interest. His concerned wife informs the elders. So now you got the wife's calling the elders, because that's what happens. You're never really married in that organization, because your wife might not take it to you and have a discussion. She'll call the elders. But anyways, his concerned wife informs the elders, who gives him strong counsel. And later, when he claims to be leaving overnight for a business trip, his suspicious wife and a relative follow him to the secretary's home. They observe the secretary, invite him inside at 10 p.m., and continue watching all night until he leaves the home at 7 a.m. And when the elder speaks to him, he admits that he spent the night with his secretary, but he denies that he committed adultery. In such a case, the elders have a basis to take judicial action because there is strong circumstantial evidence of porneia, and there may be elements of brazen conduct. The innocent mate's conscience may allow her to divorce him and remarry. She should not be criticized if that is her decision. So you guys get all that? This is what the Watchtower is training their people on here. Number 8. They should just call this private eye investigation, because there's actually a professional field for this kind of stuff, following people around, observing them, and then properly, there's these guys document it and legally put out, and they can prove, depending on what kind of proof you want to pay for, but they'll prove what it is. There's professionals that do this stuff, folks. Watchtower has its own people getting involved in private eye work, which is a profession of its own and is risky. People could be hurt. If you're being followed around, there's a lot of road rage now. People stop their car and beat you up, shoot you. Usually Watchtower people don't have guns and shoot people, but they if someone's doing brazen conduct and they're being followed, they might get pissed off at being followed. Why does Watchtower have its people following people like this? It's all laid out in the elder's book. So if an elder's reading this book, he's going home, he's processing this information, and he's saying, well, the faithful and discreet slave is telling us to be private eyes. That's what this is all about, folks. Okay, number 9. Below are examples in which judicial action would likely not be warranted. Below. So this is a good thing. Here it is. An elderly Christian living alone as a member of the opposite sex moves into the home to help care for him. There is no evidence of romantic attachment or reason to suspect sexual immorality. And that's what Russell did. He said he was being cared for by this girl and that there was no romantic attachment. But they would lock themselves into the room, his bedroom, for many hours at a time. His wife reported, because Russell's wife filed for divorce. A lot of people don't know that. And that came all out in court. So what are they saying? What's elderly? 60, 65? Are they saying like elderly people don't have a sex drive? Nothing's going to happen. So as soon as you're 60, he's an elder. I'll tell you what, if I was 60, 65, or 70, if any woman was in a room with me, my wife is going to be there. It's just elder. This book is crazy. It's kind of given permission for some of these older guys to get away with some stuff a little bit. It's right there. No judicial meeting if you're an older, and you have some young girls coming into your. Let's say you live in a senior home. You're a JW. Live in a senior home. A lot of these senior homes, there's a lot of sex going on in these senior homes. Lots of it. Okay, it's another topic. But if you're an elder, well, no problem. And of course, there's care. You got nurses and stuff, but that's different. That's professional. But you're an elder, senior, and all these young girls keep coming in and out. Different ones. Because sometimes that happens. Eh? Yeah. Okay. They have pills like Viagra. If they're older, they use these pills. Viagra gets them going. Anyways, Watchtower is giving you guys, you're old, you put your time in. We're going to turn a blind eye. Go ahead. Take your Viagra. You're old. You're too old to get it up. So we know there's no issues. Okay. Number 2, now these are all the reasons why you won't get into a judicial committee. These are all your get out of jail free cards, right? That's what we're looking at. After attending a social gathering at a single sister's home, a brother walks to a train station to catch the train home. After waiting for some time, the brother learns that the last train for the day has already left the station. He walks back to the sister's home, but by the time he arrives, everyone has left. It's quite late. The sister allows him to sleep in the living room while she sleeps in her bedroom. Really? Can you guys believe there's stuff like this in the Elders book? Maybe it happened. I don't know. I wonder what else we're going to find. So, if you attend, this is your get out of jail free card, guys. You're attending a social gathering. There's a single sister's. You walk her to the. It's late. You're doing the brotherly thing, right? You're going to walk her to the train station. Catch a train home. You learn the last train of the day is already gone. That's your excuse. That's your excuse. Always keep that as an excuse. Last train of the day is already gone. So you walked her back home. All the way back home. You walked all that ways, wherever it is. And maybe you got a cab. I don't know what you did, but you walked a long ways with her all alone. And by the time you arrive, everyone has left. Maybe you stopped by a pub, had a few drinks. You got tired walking. You guys got tired. So I don't know, maybe you stopped at a nightclub, the two of you, and had a few, danced her up a bit. It's just all worldly people there anyways, that late at night, 2 a.m. by now. And you get back, everyone's gone, no one's around, and you sleep at her place. The sister allows you to sleep there. No one knows where you slept. No one has a clue where you slept. No one knows that the two of you have a thing. They don't know. You just walked her home. The last train left, so you did the right thing. And it was too late for you to go home away in the middle of the night all by yourself. You had to stay the night. You had to stay the night. The safest thing to do. There's your get out of jail free card. Okay, number 3. A single brother visits a married couple for several days. One night after everyone goes to bed. This is like a storybook, folks. Okay, one night after everyone goes to bed, the husband is called to an emergency at his place of work, and he does not return until morning. The wife and the single brother are alone in bed together. No, it doesn't say that. The wife and the single brother are alone in the home all night, sleeping in separate bedrooms. That's what they say. They said that. Do you believe them? Well, it's a get out of jail free card. So a lot of let me tell you this. A lot of adultery happens within friends, best friends. So friends come over, you get a friend over, stays a night, things happen. A lot of it's friends. That's where these things happen. Wife swapping, all these kinds of things happen. Number 10, but that's a get out of jail free card. That one. And it makes sense. A brother works for the fire department. Whatever, if he gets a call, he has to go, right? Now, number 10, entering marriage when not scripturally free. If a baptized Christian remarries, but was not scriptural free to do so, he is guilty of adultery, which would require disfellowshipping. That's when they say require judicial action, that means disfellowshipping. You're going to get disfellowship because you committed adultery. No questions asked. Now, if the new marriage mate is baptized, she would also be dealt with judicially. She would also probably get disfellowshipped because it's public. You both would get disfellowshipped. Remarriage brings a scriptural end to the previous marriage. Remarriage. Forgiveness or rejection on the part of the innocent mate is no longer possible. So that's, I guess, well, they're divorced. So you see, in Canada, when you get divorced, you got to wait 2 years before you can remarry. It's built into our law because people sometimes will make up. That's what they're trying to say here. Yeah, from separation date, I think it's 2 years. Okay, now you know what this tells me? They're training their elders to be marriage counselors, and they're not. To be a marriage counselor takes years, at least 4 years of training, at least, if not 7, to be a psychology kind of person. but at least 4 years here in Canada to be a marriage counselor. Entering marriage when not scripturally free. If a baptized Christian remarries but was not scripturally free, he is guilty of adultery. Yeah, we read that. If a Christian who marries when not scripturally free would not qualify for special privileges, so you wouldn't qualify for special privileges for many years, it says, for many years, and not before living down any notoriety or reproach as associated with the wrongdoing. So they really go hard on that. They go harder on this than they do on pedophiles. We'll cover that. They do. This is crazy. Getting involved in this kind of stuff. Okay, this would include taking into consideration the current circumstances of the previous mate who has been dealt with treacherously, and any minor children who may have been abandoned by the guilty mate. You know, Watchtower has a special legal department for helping people to, when they're divorcing, let's say one of the parties wakes up and says, I'm leaving, and there's a divorce. Could be a divorce. Watchtower is going to go to all lengths to maintain the children. And they're going to actually help the JW. They have a brochure for that. That's when you call the service desk. You get special assistance. 12. Whether or not a divorced Christian remarries, if he deliberately committed adultery in a scheming way so as to end his previous marriage, or has pressured his innocent mate to reject him so that she eventually agreed to a divorce, he has dealt treacherously with her. He would not qualify for special privileges for many years. So how did they know all about that? How would they figure that out? If he deliberately, so whether or not a divorced Christian remarries, if he deliberately committed adultery in a scheming way so as to end his previous marriage, or he pressured his innocent mate to reject him so that she eventually agreed to divorce, he has dealt treacherously with her. So in other words, if you get married and you find out after 5-10 years that you're just not compatible, that things just aren't working and you guys just aren't happy, you can't get divorced. So what happens? You can't get divorced. You're in a religion that people here, I guess they have this in the elders book, people are scheming because you can't get divorced. You're there for life. You both want to get out of it. It's not like you both want to be in the marriage. You're just incompatible. This is what happens when people get married young. And in the Watchtower, people are getting married way too young because of the way the rules are. So all these young people get married. They find out after 5 years in, they're just not compatible. So they start wife swapping or something. But here, marriage, or he's pressured, you see, if you can't get a divorce, you can't walk down to the courthouse, hey, we're going to nullify our marriage because we're just not compatible. Can't do that in the Watchtower. So then what happens? The one party starts conniving, starts playing games. The innocent, the rejection games, all kinds of stuff goes on in the Watchtower because they're not marriage counselors. They shouldn't be getting involved in this kind of stuff. That's why. Okay, here's the important one. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. I agree. Oh, really? Okay. Okay, did you hear that? You can get divorced at any time. You can't remarry if the watchtower decides it was unscriptural. Well, they're really going to monitor you really close. Child abuse. Child abuse may include neglect, physical abuse, sexual abuse, or emotional abuse of a minor. I bet you that's brand new in this book. I bet you number 13 is all out of some family counselor manual, because they had to redo all this. Yeah, because they're not covering the children. So here's what they put in. Child abuse may include neglect, physical abuse, sexual abuse, or emotional abuse of a child. Child sexual abuse occurs when an adult uses a child to satisfy his or her own sexual desires. It could include sexual intercourse, oral or anal sex, fondling of genitalia, breasts, or buttocks, or other perverted acts such as voyeurism of a minor. I don't even know what that word means. Watching them, okay. Voyeurism of a minor, watching. Indecent exposure to a minor or soliciting a minor for sexual conduct. Depending on circumstances of the case, it may include an adult showing pornography to a minor or sexting. Sexting, you know what that is? It's texting. Texting with sexual pictures or stuff like that. They call it sexting. And even though you delete your texts, people think they can just delete their texts. It's all in there. The police can get the texts from the cellular companies. So if you're suspected of this, all your record, nothing's private. Remember we say on this channel, everything hidden will be revealed. Nothing's secret. Now, depending on the circumstances of the case, it may include an adult showing pornography and sexting. Sexting involves the sending of sexual explicit messages or images electronically. While most victims are girls, many boys are abused as well. And although most abusers are men, some women also abuse children. Okay, well, that's right out of a family counseling handbook, I would say. Okay, we're going to carry on. Number 14, gross uncleanness, uncleanness with greediness. It's an interesting subheading. Gross uncleanness. You know, if you don't have a shower once a week, maybe. Let's see what it says. Galatians 5:19 to 21 lists many vices that are not classified as porneia, but that could lead to one's being disqualified from God's kingdom. Among them are uncleanness, and when one practices uncleanness to a serious degree, it can be grounds for disfellowshipping from the Christian congregation. Elders should use good judgment in discerning whether the conduct is minor uncleanness that can be handled by counsel or gross uncleanness that requires the formation of a judicial committee. What's this uncleanness? Well, let's see if it says anything. It says, number 15, though this is not an exhaustive list, gross uncleanness may be involved in the following. Okay, look at all the stuff, folks. Look at it all. You thought it was just one word, gross uncleanness. Well, this is their definition of it. It's big. I was looking at this earlier. Yeah. 6 points we're going to cover to understand what gross uncleanness is according to the Watchtower. Okay, we've been going an hour and 20 minutes. We're going to take a break and then we're going to cover gross uncleanness. This will be a long part. We're going to try to finish this today because I want to keep the chapters kind of finished. So hang in us for the long haul. If you can't watch it all in one sitting, that's fine. We're going to cover it. We got to cover it. And we got to get this out there so people know what they're being judged for and how the judging works and the pressure that these elders are under. It's just crazy. Okay, well, thanks again. Let's look at a few comments before I duck and hide. My tea's empty, so hey, and thanks to all you guys on our coffee list. You can join, and they're buying our coffee. I don't pay for the coffee. You guys are. So thank you very much. It really does help, and we use it. I actually just about running out of tea. I like my coffee in the morning, and I have tea in the afternoon, and I do drink a bit of water in between. So I do stay hydrated. It's all good. Okay, well, let's look at this. Talk, tall, cool woman. It's the first time I've seen you on. Hello. Nice to see you on with us. Yeah, it's this Elders book is crazy. What's happening with it? Who do we have? Big Brother is another one. I'm just going to pick in random names. I'm not really getting into your comments. I'll look at them. Masturbation, uncleanness, which means it could get you DF'd if you repeat it often enough, and you could even lose yourself. So yeah, we were asking about that, right? But they said masturbation was okay. You seen that, eh? Maybe they'll get into it. I think they're going to get into it here some more in this section. So up on porneia, they said it doesn't qualify, but maybe it qualifies for. Maybe that's how they're doing it. It's like a court, legal terms. It's gross uncleanness. You see, masturbation is not porneia, but they're going to put masturbation in gross uncleanness. So thank you for that, Big Brother. You're probably absolutely right. After the break here, we're going to cover that. And Smokeless Choice. I like that name, Smokeless Choice. You were in a cult. You were engaged to be married in your past before joining, and then you were already married, so the cult wouldn't marry you. Really? Really? That's why they're losing their marriage status. Norway, they can't marry anymore, anyways. Steen says some sisters in my congregation thought if they committed adultery, they could get a divorce, but not if the innocent mate forgives you. Also sick. Really? Really? Wow. So you're really trapped. You guys got that, right? So you got two people that are married. They got married young. They got married at 18. A lot of JWs get married young. Imagine you can't even. Well, we're going to learn what you can do. You can't even touch your body. You can't think about anything anymore. Like, come on. Half the elders look at pornography. I might be out to lunch on that, but the ones I knew did. I think they just have a lot of rules just to judge people. That's what I think's happening. Vern does not do texting, it seems. You're right. Jane, my good wife, when she met me, this is like back in 2012, 10 years ago. It's been 10 years now. Or longer, I think. No, 10 years ish. Longer, okay. So I was always texting and driving, texting. And eventually she just took my phone away. She says, you're going to write a book or something, write it down. I haven't had a phone to text for a long time, and I don't miss it. I don't run a business. I don't need to do any of that. So, and I'm not running from myself either. So it's different. Okay, folks, I'm going to take a little bit of a break here, and we'll see you in about 5 minutes. Adios. Okay, we'll pause that. Daydreaming, that's called. It's a feed on StreamYard. Okay, we'll get back at her. Thanks for sticking with us, everyone. You have to take a little break to stomach some of this stuff. Laugh. We can only laugh about it at this point in the game. If you're on this channel watching, you can only be happy. You can only be dancing. And crying's over. You can only cry so much. So we start building new pathways in our brains as we go over all of this stuff together. We undo what's holding us to that last moment that we walked out. We walked out. We have an open wound. Maybe we were dealt with. It was through this book that we were dealt with judicially. And so what this did for me is it helped me to understand that the elders are not the bad guys here. They're puppets. We were all puppets when we were in there. We were all there were strings attached to our arms, and we all wore the JW mask. And yeah, it's interesting how our minds, when we get out and examine all of this stuff, it's interesting. So all we can do is laugh and dance and uncover it. I think it's important to uncover this. We're ExJWs. We are professionals. We can uncover this stuff. Where a lot of people that haven't been in there might have a hard. They're uncovering it too, but when you've experienced it, it's a different kind of uncovering. You experienced it. Yeah, you were in the JW Holocaust. We're Holocaust survivors. We're JW org survivors, is what we are. We're not victims. Okay, so here's what we're going to get into. We're going to get into the next part of this. They call it gross conduct. That's what they determined up here. Gross uncleanness. They'd probably read all those scriptures. The scriptures probably call it that. We could read it, but let's see what Watchtower says. This is their interpretation, remember, of the scriptures. So momentary touching of intimate body parts or caressing of breasts, it doesn't talk. In fact, in the scriptures, in the Song of Solomon, there's a lot of breast caressing of breasts in that book, if you want to look for it. But let's see what it says. If such conduct occurred on a few isolated occasions, especially between two persons involved in a courtship with intent to marry, counsel from two elders may suffice to handle such minor uncleanness. So if you're courting, maybe not engaged yet, courting someone, a girl, or vice versa, few isolated occasions in your courtship, he touched your breasts. What are you going to do? Well, according to this elders book, you should go to the elders and talk to them. That's what this says. Yeah, they want to know what they should do. You see, that this is the monitoring that goes on, folks. So the elders should inform the coordinator, the body of elders, of this situation. Hey, guys, there was touching at least twice. He touched her breasts twice, momentarily caressing over top the shirt and everything, but his hand swiped. That's what she said. We're going to have to form we're going to have to form a judicial committee. If this shouldn't scare you young people off, all you young people growing up in this this should just scare you right off, in my opinion. Anyways, if you're courting an elder's daughter, she probably knows all these rules already. Now, the elders should inform the coordinator, the body of elders, of the situation of the breasts being touched. Then, however, if the conduct occurs on numerous occasions and the actions escalated in gravity and frequency, it may be constituted gross uncleanness with greediness. Really? Did you guys hear that? Okay. If the conduct occurred on numerous occasions and escalated, so if the touching of the breasts escalated, so here this body of elders is talking to this girl, eh? So has the touching of the breasts escalated in gravity? She's sitting there, and the other elder pipes up, in frequency. We want to know about frequency too. And the other elder says, greediness. We want to know if he's greedy. Like, does he just greed for it? Want more of those breasts of yours? What's going on here, folks? This is like a story. This is like a fictional story. I'm reading this stuff with you guys. All of you guys online. This is crazy. Okay. I skim some of this stuff, but I don't read it all. This is a first read for me. Their wrongdoing may constitute brazen conduct if they give evidence of disrespectful, insolent attitude towards God's law on touching breasts. Don't look at the Song of Solomon, though, because there's a lot of breast touching in there. It's not in here. We should pull it up. Just put in breasts, see what it comes up. For example, the individual may have no intention of pursuing marriage. He just wants to touch breasts. Do you have a breast-touching brother in your congregation? I'm serious. This is what this is all about, is momentary touching of intimate body parts or caressing of breasts. If you have a breast-touching brother in your congregation that has no intention of marriage, beware. There is a part in our elders' book to deal with him. Okay, number 2. I'm not making this stuff up. It's in here. This is the elders' book right here. This is it, guys. It's Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of the Republic of Korea. That's how they're printing this stuff. But its publishers are the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses in Wallkill, New York. But the company that they registered it under is the Republic of Korea. This book is registered there. Do you think it's registered there so it's kind of makes a lawsuit a little bit more difficult? That's what I think. Let me know in the comments. Why is everything else New York, New York, New York? But all of a sudden, this elders book is the Republic of Korea. You know, they have companies all over the world, right? Watchtower. And we showed, I think on the news here, we do a Friday news wrap up. We showed the International Convention in Korea, I think in 2018. And they had all these dancers. It was really interesting what's going on in Korea. So this is the elders book. So we're getting into number 2 of this section here of what is it called? Uncleanness. Gross uncleanness is what we're covering. This is the Watchtower's definition of gross uncleanness. So the first part is, if you're a brother in the congregation and you like touching women's breasts, you will be labeled as gross uncleanness. It's gross uncleanness. You shouldn't have those. You shouldn't be doing that stuff. Courting, even if you're courting, it says here. No handling of such minor uncleanness. No, don't do that. If it occurs on numerous occasions, your fiance or the one you're courting will probably tell someone, and you will be in an elders meeting. Probably she will tell someone because she's feeling stimulated, right? She's feeling stimulated. She's not supposed to feel stimulated when she's courting you. Apparently that's not supposed to happen. But anyways, let's see what else happens. What could be gross uncleanness? Number 2, Immoral conversions over the telephone or the internet. More immoral. What is immoral? A practice of engaging in immoral conversation over a telephone or internet, including sexting, can involve obscene speech or gross uncleanness. Gross uncleanness. Aren't we covering gross uncleanness? Touching breasts, maybe? Obscene speech. So either of which can be the basis for judicial action. So this is the thing, folks. your texting is, when you send that out, the other party has it. What if your fiance shows someone, right? Then you're in an elders meeting. Yeah. So, if such conduct occurred on a few isolated occasions, judicial action may not be necessary. So, you might just get talked to. Counsel from two elders may be sufficient to handle such minor uncleanness. The elders should inform the coordinator of body of elders of the situation. However, such conduct may escalate in gravity and by frequent repetition become gross uncleanness, with greediness requiring judicial action. So if you're greedy when you're sexting, if you're too greedy in how you describe your sexting, it could require judicial action. But if the sexting isn't greedy, you're just going to get kind of talked to by these two elders. Does that make sense? Because it doesn't to me, really, but it just sounds like a lot more rules that elders would have to figure out. They'd sit down and have an elders meeting just to figure out the rules in this elders book, I think. What does the governing body mean by this? I wonder what they mean by this. You see, the governing body writes this book because they're dealing with all this stuff in Bethel. I heard that Bethel is one of the worst places. That's what I heard, but I could be wrong. Could be right. A lot of people come out of Bethel and they're saying it's not what you think. Okay, the elders should inform the coordinator body of elders. They should figure out if there's judicial action. And they'll look at your records, especially if the individual has had previous counsel. So once you have previous counsel, it's in your records. They write it down and they open that book up. Oh, he had a breasting problem. He was touching breasts. This guy needs to be disfellowshipped. You see, this is what they do, folks. They're not marriage counselors. They're not family counselors. They're going to take a kid that got baptized and they're going to disfellowship him. All you human resource child welfare people should be watching this. I hope. And if you know child welfare people, forward these videos over to them. This is the one that needs to go to them. But this is how the elders are trained by Watchtower out of Korea. Watchtower out of Korea, but Wallkill published. The elders must use good judgment because they want judicial action. They got to be clear about it. Okay, viewing abhorrent forms of pornography. There's a whole section on that. We're going to cover that down the road, section 13. This is section 12. That's next. Pornography is next. So next week, it's going to get good, pornography. So join us next week. Subscribe if you haven't. We're doing this every Monday night, live. And we're going to be showing comments. Anybody that's got comments. This guy says, Tier 5 says, my best man was a pioneer. Used to spend the weekends at Bethel. Turned out he was a pedophile. Really? I heard that, hey, Keith, how you doing there, buddy? He says, don't look at the sisters sideways. Yeah, you'll be in an elders meeting. Crazy. Here's Autumn RCI, LMAO. It's brand new. Autumn. Yvonne. Hello, Yvonne. Yeah, it's crazy. Also, yeah, all kinds of horror stories you heard at Bethel too, eh? Smokeless choice. Yep, come back next week for pornography. We start at 5 o'clock and try to finish a section. I have a. We're not done yet. Like this is a long section. We're right here on pornography. How much do we have? Are we going to get through this tonight? Holy smokes! Can you believe this? Elders have to go through this kind of nonsense. Holy smokes! This might take three. This is going to take a week of videos. Look at all that stuff. Look at it all, you guys. I'm still scrolling. Down, 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 down. Ah, finally, we're at pornography. There's no way we're going to finish this tonight. We'll go to the 2 hour mark. That's all we can do. That's reasonable. Unless one of you other ones anybody out there wants to come online and carry on while I have a break. No, we'll do 2 hours. That's good. I didn't realize this was that big of a section, but we're going to cover it because it gets into everything. It needs to be exposed. This book has been hidden for too long. And yeah, I was disfellowshipped by this book. So it's interesting. Now, where are we? We're still okay. Okay, so where do we go to? I should have wrote the page down. We're on when you're not free, child abuse, we covered, uncleanness, touching breasts, we covered that. Okay, here we are. Viewing pornography. So we won't get to that next week. It'll probably be a week or so. So stick with us. We have this section though is how this book is used against people. Anybody out there they estimate that there's 1.8 million disfellowship people out there in the world. There's a lot of people that we don't see online. Some people they leave and they just keep running. They're people, they do a lot of research, fix themselves, fix their brains, and they move off these channels because that's just temporary. You just need this stuff for a certain amount of time, maybe a couple of years, maybe 5 years. There's no magic pill for this undoing all of this stuff, cult programming. Everyone will do it at a different rate. The best way to undo it is to fill your mind with new other things, and I think for me anyways, as a JW, I need some scriptural proof, so that worked. And then you start unwinding the Bible and you learn a lot of other things too. Okay, so number 4, I got busted for this when I was in my 30s. Misuse of tobacco. I got busted for smoking. I was going through marital problems and we're separated for some time. So I went and bought a pack of cigarettes, went down along the lake and started smoking and hacking. But it kind of gave me a little bit of a buzz, I knew I was doing something wrong. So I kind of, that's a little bit of an excitement too. So whatever it does. Worst things you could be doing, I just used it temporarily. Now, marijuana, lots of doctors are prescribing marijuana now. Now they're talking about abuse. This book says that marijuana is okay in another spot. But let's look at it here. Misuse of tobacco, marijuana, and the abuse of medical, illicit, or addictive drugs. Now, the reason I have marijuana highlighted because they say if it's legal in your province or state or country and your doctor prescribes it, then you can do it. You can take it. You can even grow it in your You can grow it according to the legal, whatever the law says. So how can you say that marijuana is okay if your doctor prescribes it in some countries and some states, but then in all those other states and countries it's misuse? See, that's the problem with these big corporate organizations. Now they have a book that contradicts itself. But anyways, let's read this. It's all abuse here, medical abuse of medical, illicit, or addictive drugs. So elders should use good judgment in weighing the circumstances to an extent of the wrongdoing so as to determine whether a judicial committee should be formed. For example, one or two elders may handle matters by means of counsel if a Christian abused an addictive drug or smoked cigarettes on one or two occasions, and the matter is not widely known. The coordinator of the body of elders should be informed. However, the judicial committee is required for a practice of abusing addictive drugs, including betel nut. Do you guys know what betel nut is? It's that stuff you chew. It's like chewing tobacco. It's like chewing, betel nut. It's chewing tobacco. Tastes awful. I used to chew it. I tried it when I was a teenager. I used to work on the oil rigs just for a couple summers or something. And all the guys, you can't smoke on the oil rigs, right? And so a lot of these workers are all chewing betel nuts. So the guy says, "Here, try some." So you try some and you spit it out. It's gross. But then, I don't know, there's something in there that makes you want to chew it. Oh, yeah, it's called nicotine. Sorry, nicotine. It's the same as smoking. You're getting nicotine. And so it's addictive. So that's betel nut. So marijuana, tobacco. Marijuana is not necessarily addictive. A lot of people say it is, but it isn't. Tobacco is very addictive, very addictive, and I think they even put chemicals in it. So it's not that I don't agree with Watchtower and all this stuff, but would I form a judicial committee over it? Absolutely not. It's no one's business what a person does after they go home from the Kingdom Hall or any church. They stand before God. They stand, and their conscience is their conscience. It's not the Watchtower's conscience. It's not the Elders' book's conscience. But anyways, let's read what they say. That's what we're here to figure out. So they say if the use of marijuana is legal in a medical, well, here it is, right here, folks. If the use of marijuana is legal and a medical doctor authorizes and or prescribes marijuana for a medical problem, a Christian may choose to make use of this form of treatment. It's right in the Elders' book. You guys thought I was talking through my, what they say, eh? Yeah, it's here. If the growing of marijuana is also legal, a Christian who is using marijuana under a doctor's supervision may decide to grow the drug for his personal use. I was blown away when I read that. I don't know about you guys, but it's right there. We even have hats we're making with a marijuana thing on it because this is a JW thing. You can do it. It's right in the Elders' book here. Now there is a caveat. So there is a caveat. So let's listen in. I got to clear my throat. Just give me a second. Thank you. Now, if okay, so if the growing of marijuana is legal, and if you have your doctor's certificate, you can grow it. You can grow the drug. They even call it a drug. You can grow the drug for his. So if you're a girl, you can't grow the drug because it says for his personal use. So I don't know about the sisters. I don't know if the sisters are allowed to because it's just for his. No, it would apply. They do everything his. The Bible, it's all about his, he. It's a very male chauvinistic presentation. You could write They may decide to grow the drug for their personal use. You could even use the word their, him or her, whatever. But it's just his, because it would be the head of the house, you see. So if this is the other factor that they'll drag you into. So let's say you sisters suffer depression, and you go to your doctor and you've tried all these depression pills and they just wreck you, right? They just wreck you. They do. There's a lot of these pharmaceuticals. So the doctor says, well, you might want to try marijuana. So the sister comes home and says, I'm going to try marijuana. I heard it was in the elders book. I phoned the other sisters, and she checked with her husband, and it's okay. It's okay. So the sister says this to her husband, right? And her husband says, well, it's not okay with me. There'd be no marijuana around this house. Even if you don't have kids and stuff, right? So that's why they put the his in there. I don't know if you guys know that. Because the man of the house will usurp or override the sister's decision, even though her doctor said she should do it. Maybe she's suicidal. Half the people in the Jehovah's Witness religion are depressed, very depressed, because they're dealing with a lot of cognitive dissonance, circular reasoning. The mind just gets depressed. It's always in fear. Pack your to-go bag, so it's always afraid. So marijuana is, if it's legal, some of these people are using it, but it's his decision in your house, just so you know, to grow for his personal use. I could be wrong here, but I think if a husband said, no, you couldn't grow it, sisters, you couldn't grow it. That's what I think, even though your doctor says you can. Now, and the law says you can. So, and even if the elders book says you can, this is how this religion works. Okay, let's carry on. Or a Christian may decide to grow the drug for someone in his household who is using it under a doctor's supervision. They even left that, a Christian. So you might have someone else grow it for you. Looks like you can do that. Maybe someone else doesn't have kids, they can grow it for you. Okay, it says these would be personal decisions. Interesting, eh? How they did that. However, it would not be proper for a Christian to use marijuana just to experience euphoria. Well, why even do it then? Just kidding. Just kidding. Yeah, of course. I'm not going to get high. I'm not doing it to get high. I'm doing it just to feel better. Well, they look at it like alcohol. Not really. No. This is for medical reasons. So if a person's depressed, their frequencies are lowered. Did you know that alcohol lowers your vibrations, lowers your frequencies in your body? Alcohol does it. So that's why a lot of alcohol, if you drink alcohol, you feel depressed afterwards. It's a depressant. It makes you depressed. Alcohol, too much drinking of it can poison you too. Lots of people die from alcohol poisoning. Lots of people die from alcohol poisoning. People, if you smoke too much marijuana, you go to sleep. You don't die. No one dies. There's been no reported death that I know of from marijuana. Alcohol, you get blood poisoning very quickly. Okay, so you wouldn't use marijuana to experience euphoria. So marijuana will raise your frequencies. That's why they call it a high. It raises your frequencies. Alcohol will lower your frequencies. It's a depressant. Two different drugs. Everything's a drug. Caffeine's a drug. Everything's a drug. Nicotine. So there's different drugs that we all use. Are they bad? It's all seeds of the earth, a lot of it. So you just got to be careful with some of it. Some of it will kill you. So, but this is talking about marijuana. Marijuana has become widespread. It's in the Elders book. A lot of the JWs do not know it's in the Elders book, that you can grow it, you can use it under a doctor's supervision, if you're suffering depression. And the reason I'm covering this thoroughly is there's so many JWs suffering from depression, ExJWs as well. So okay, it says, however, it would not be proper for a Christian to use marijuana just to experience euphoria, or for him to grow it for others who are not part of his household. Okay, so you can't grow it for someone else that's not part of your household. So, okay. So maybe the one of your kids is really good at growing stuff. He takes care of the marijuana lab in the basement. This just sounds funny. It just sounds different to me to read this. I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments. What do you guys think? Like, I'm just reading this stuff and trying to understand it along with you. It looks like you can grow it. If someone's in your household, you can grow it. Your son maybe could grow it. He runs the marijuana lab in the basement. I could just imagine I go down there and my kids are all high. Anyways, it's in the Elders book. That's what I'd say. It's in the Elders book. Why are your kids high? Your kids are coming to the meeting. They're laughing and they're so happy. All the other kids are sad. They're going to die any day now. Your kids are happy. Well, it's in the Elders book. We're just, my son runs the marijuana lab. I need it. I'm depressed because of that bullshit. You guys make us believe in Satan every day. You could have a lot of fun with this stuff, you guys. I'm not in it, so I can't use it, but you guys could have fun with this. Okay, Christian would be, let's read on. If a Christian's medical use of marijuana or the growing of it for his personal, now it's not the sisters, this is the brother's problem. You sisters get a green card on this one. You get a pass go, get out of jail free, whatever you want to call it. But this is the brother's issue. That's how I read this. It's all about the sisters get off free. Now, if a Christian's medical use of marijuana or the growing of it for his personal medical needs causes a disturbance in the congregation, okay, they're going to use this against you guys. If you're causing a disturbance, what's a disturbance? What could be class? Well, what does it say here? It says it could be that the Christian would no longer be viewed as exemplary. Those old pioneers, they just smoke pot. Yeah, they just smoke pot and then they go out in the ministry. Those pioneers. That's what they're doing. They say it's for depression. They got doctor's certificates. They smoke a couple joints. They get in their car. They smoke some joints. I can't believe I'm having this discussion, but it's in the Elders book here, guys. This is what they're going to deal with. They're going to deal with this stuff now. Okay, so they need more rules to deal with the old rules, the new rules. Okay, you guys can all wear beards. Okay, we need some more rules. The beards are getting way too long. They're not trimmed. So now they have new rules to manage the new rules because they just allowed beards. Now they have beard trimming rules. Videos on beard trimming is what's going on in the Christian congregation. Now they have new rules. Women are allowed to wear slacks, but now they have new rules on the new rules. They can't be tight. You can't see the crack of your bum in those slacks, or they're too tight. I don't know. What are the rules? You guys tell me. I don't go to the hall. I don't know what the rules are. So, but I know there's new rules. Now, if a Christian's medical use of marijuana or the growing of it causes a disturbance in the congregation, so if people get to know that you're growing it and smoking it, and that the pioneers are smoking it out in service or something, it could be that the Christian would no longer be viewed as exemplary. And the proper use of the addictive drugs under medical supervision, such as for pain management, would not require judicial review. But when the questions arise, consult with the service department. Oh, so now you've got to consult the service department. You know why? Because JW.org wants to be doctors. They want to be medical people. It's like they want to say what you can and can't do medically. You can't take an organ transplant. Oh no, that was our old belief. Now you can take an organ transplant? What? Your dad died because he couldn't take one? It's not our problem. We had new light. It's Jehovah's problem. We're resolved. We have no reason to apologize. Get out of here. Next. That's how it is, folks. That's how I see it. Okay, we're going to close off here. I think this has been good. Okay, let's just finish right up to brazen conduct. This is good. This is really good. Marijuana. So the way I'm looking at this, let's really look at this sincerely, just so you guys don't get into trouble. If you get a doctor's certificate and you want to grow it, you're going to have to keep it private as hell. Don't invite anybody over. You got to be one of these people that are weak in the congregation that don't get people over for supper, because that marijuana, when it's growing in your house, it stinks. The whole house smells like marijuana. How do you hide that stuff? You can't camouflage that stuff. It lingers. How are you going to get people over? And then you're going to have people talking and saying that, oh yeah, he's just a pothead. He's a pothead. You know, where maybe if you didn't use the stuff, you'd be committed suicide. Maybe you'd no longer be here. You know, there's people that cut themselves, all kinds of different things, and they use epilepsy. I know this for a fact. They studied this in Israel with marijuana. Epilepsy has some factors in it that work. I don't know all of the details, but they're using it medically. Seniors are using it for pain management. You know, when you get older and you feel every ache and pain, seniors are in Israel using it for pain management. They smoke a joint, I guess. Well, they don't have to smoke it. You can take it orally, like pills. So they're doing a lot of work with it. The growing of marijuana is okay. They're going to get into the farming of it now. Okay, so the thing is, if it's a disturbance in the congregation, and you become the talk of the congregation because of your marijuana, you're going to no longer be viewed as exemplary. So the worst, you're not going to get disfellowship, but you're just going to lose all your privileges. So if you're a brother, no more, you can't work the literature counter, you can't handle the mics, you can't do anything. You can just walk into the hall, sit at the back. You're a pothead. You're a pothead. This is against human rights. Can you not see it? You have a doctor's certificate to smoke this stuff. Sorry. You have a doctor's certificate to take this medication. Okay? And now you're judged. It's going to be a disturbance. I'm sorry, friends. The first person that comes to your house and smells it is going to run around the congregation and call you a pothead, because this is brand new, right? This marijuana stuff is brand new. You're going to be called a pothead. The elders are going to have to call the service department over this because of human rights. This is serious legal stuff, guys. It's interesting to see how they're dealing with it. They are trying to deal with it, but they're dancing with it. They're dancing with it. Okay, number 5. The growing of marijuana is different from a farmer who grows industrial hemp, which is related to marijuana but is used for other commercial products like ropes. They make ropes and stuff out of hemp, clothing. Apparently it's pretty good. And it contains very little of the compound that produces the euphoric effects. And growing hemp is a personal decision. So you're allowed to grow hemp if you're a farmer. It's just like growing ropes. You're growing these ropes all over the place. They're pot. It grows really big. They use it for stuff. Okay, number 6, extreme physical uncleanness. Remember, we're talking about uncleanness, folks? So you're not unclean for growing marijuana, having marijuana, smoking marijuana, but you can't smoke tobacco. You're going to get disfellowship for smoking tobacco because it's not good for you. Tobacco is not. You see, a doctor will not prescribe tobacco to you, so they don't want you to use it. A doctor will not prescribe alcohol to you, but they don't talk about it in here. We may get into alcoholism here in a bit. We'll see. Okay, so let's finish up with this point. Extreme physical uncleanness. Every effort should be made to help the offender see the need to keep his body and place of residence clean. So this is physical cleanness. Before judicial action would be considered, the elders would need to be certain that the uncleanness is pronounced and offensive, bringing much reproach upon Jehovah's good name and his people in the community. And appropriate counsel should be given, and if it's not heeded, then a warning talk may be necessary. You guys know what a warning talk is? So you have someone in the congregation that's very unclean. I know of a situation in the farming community out here where one of the elders actually had a farmyard and it had all this junk. You know how farmers collect all this junk, and then sometimes you have this land that's multiple generations, and so that combine quits, you just park it, right? Well, you get a row of like 2 or 3 combines, and then if you get a combine, you have a certain model. You know what a combine is? They use it for harvesting the wheat, the barley up here. We call them combines. You always see these combines there. So my dad used to buy this old machinery. He'd buy the Massey Ferguson combine, but he'd have 3 other combines for parts. So you'd have a row of combines. And that's just the start of it. You know, you get into all the other implements of machinery, and pretty soon you have a boneyard of junkyard. So this old elder had a boneyard of junk from generations of whatever. And it's a lot of work to clean that up when you get old. Well, they hauled him into a elders meeting and they deleted him as an elder. Can you imagine? The guy worked his whole life. He's in his 60s. This old elder, I know him, and they deleted him because of his boneyard of junk. He's a farmer. Every farmer has a junkyard out back. Anyways, it's in the elders book. It's not, you see, the elders would say, well, it's not us. Sorry, brother, it's not us. That's what I would do. If I was an elder, I'd say it's not us. It's Watchtower. But you see, you can't make Watchtower look bad. You see, they can't do that. They got to say, brother, it's not us. It's Jehovah. This is how Jehovah wants it. Jehovah wants it this way. You see, that's how they would counsel this, brother. I would say, it's not us, it's Watchtower. Watchtower's got us all on a string. We're all puppets. You see, but then I'd get deleted, right? Anyways, you can't be physically unclean. You can't have a boneyard if you're a farmer. You could get deleted. The elder would need to be a certain uncleanness that is pronounced as offensive. Well, you know, some people might have a cleanliness problem. Maybe they stink hygienically. There could be some reasons. I don't know. You could get some counsel on that. Appropriate counsel should be given. If it's not heeded, then a warning talk. So here you go. You know, maybe you're homeless. Maybe they got you off the street. You're a homeless guy, right? And you come into the meeting and you stink. You know, you haven't showered for 6 months. Well, when it rained out, you showered. You went out and stood in the rain. You showered, and that's how you clean. I don't know how homeless guys do it. Homeless people. Shelter. Maybe they go to the shelter. Yeah, my good wife says there's homeless shelters, and they can frequent that and get showers and stuff. So, but anyways, a homeless guy comes in, a little stinky, you know. because he collects bottles, all gets into the dumpsters right inside. I seen them. They make a living scavenging bottles and taking them to the bottle depot, and they make good money, some of them. Then they go buy a bottle of whiskey, lots of them. But anyways, it's what happens, right? So they come to the Kingdom Hall, and they keep coming, and they're studying, right? The pioneer goes out in the street, finds a homeless person, and studies with them out there on the street. They come to the Kingdom Hall. Pretty soon, they come a couple of times, so that the elders would talk to you as a pioneer and say, "Hey, are you going to help your student clean up? It just stinks. We got to set a chair at the back, and no one wants to sit around him." So then you try, like JW org has nothing to help people. We keep saying it on this channel. They have no ways of helping people. They have no hostel for homeless people. Hey, we'll get you in here. Okay, shower time, guys. Wash your clothes. Okay, we're going to do some community work. We're going to clean ditches. 4-H clubs do more than a lot of these religions do. And that's one of my big beefs. But there's nothing here to help people. Get someone in stinking, you know what they do? They give a warning talk. And they humiliate the person even more. He already knows he has an issue. The pioneer talked to him. He already knows. He has no way of really showering and cleaning all his clothes. So they give a warning talk, and you're humiliated. And if you're blatant about it and you disregard the counsel, judicial action would be warranted. You'll be sitting down with 3 elders. Okay, well, that's it, folks. I don't make this stuff up. We're going to finish up next week. We're going to cover brazen conduct.
Here's the poll: how many times people have been disfellowshipped?
And the poll is on the disfellowshipping. We had 133 votes. 64% said they have not been disfellowshipped. 27% have been disfellowshipped once. 3% has been disfellowshipped twice. And 3% has been disfellowshipped 3+ times. However that works. So that's what it says. So there you have it, disfellowshipping. There's a lot of rules here. We haven't even gotten to the end of it. We will, hopefully, next week. Okay, folks. Well, thank you very much for sticking with us. It's been a blast. And yeah. Yeah, thanks for all your comments. I don't have time to go through them all here right now, but they're excellent, really excellent comments. We'll see you next week. And I'll get this off the screen here. We will shut things down here with a little bit of a something. What are we going to do here?
Something fun.
Something fun, eh? You guys need some fun stuff. Okay, here it is. This one. Didn't like that one? Well, I thought that kind of summed up the Elders book. Maybe the well, I don't know what to say then. Okay, let's go with this. Churches are crumbling. Well, this isn't fun. That's serious. Okay, let's go with fun. Let's go with this one. The protest. Let's get ready for the protest. Here it is. Till next time, keep living your life with love. Bye for now.